The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, has said that almost 3,000 fresh units of houses are being built by the federal government in 33 states in a pilot phase to test run the affordability and acceptability of its national housing program. This is one way that the federal government intends to close up the 17 million gap in the demand for houses. There's also news that the federal government intends to spend about 10 billion naira annually on low-income housing estates. So let's talk about housing in Nigeria on this episode of Big Story. I'm Ini John Mekwa. The need and availability of good quality housing defines the landscape of the various states in Nigeria. In some parts, the picture of comfort and affluence, and a definition of areas which could be called wealthy. And in some others, the looks are not so comfortable, but albeit available because there are cases of lack of it. Adetoye Adesanya, a resident of Lagos State, is one of those who has suffered the consequences of insufficient housing. He says he and about 100 of others paid for some apartment in 2008, but later discovered that the same apartment had been paid for by many others.
People started fighting, killing themselves and stuff like that. OPC intervened to the issue. So some of us were driven out and we couldn't get our apartment according to what we paid for. So we took the thing to allow us to people's rights, human rights, before somebody now went to EFCC to report the matter. And since 2008 to 2009, the case has been with EFCC. We've gone through court processing at High Court in Ikeja.
Scenarios like this become normal where demand surpasses supply, which is the situation with housing in Nigeria. Ironically, it seems plans to urbanize and develop the country in some cases add to the housing challenge. For instance, in January 2018, residents of the Lagos State Development and Property Corporation, the low-income estate on Oba Ogunji Road, Agege, took to the streets to protest the plan of the government to demolish blocks of flats on the estate after some shops had already been demolished. The government's plan is to accommodate a flyover which has become necessary to accommodate the increased vehicular movement in the area.
And what I can see here is the failure and insensitivity of government to balance the right of the majority, who will be using the bridge after the construction, and the minority, those who will be affected, by adequately taking care of them. This estate was built by the same Lagos State government that is demolition without notice. What they have in the newspaper is bring your documents. Up to now, in spite of all the letters I've written to the governor and to the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development about when will this demolition take place, what is the extent of the land that will be affected, find a list of the people that will be affected, because you have the list. You have the document through one of your agency, LSDPC, and the letter we wrote submitting the documents and the names. The government has not gotten back to us. The only thing they have done is exactly after 7 days to roll in their caterpillar with mopo to demolish the shop. You've heard from them, those who are affected. And the same thing, the same treatment is about to be visited on those in Team Flat. In Team Flat purchased from the government. Not that we are wiping up sentiment. There is a family there. There is no father, there is no mother, only the 4 children. The eldest about 20, they are about. They are staying there. Where do you want them to stay? This project we are talking about is not an emergency project. Yes, we are happy about the government developing Lagos State, giving us world-class infrastructure. But they should do the same thing that they do in advanced economy. No government anywhere in the world will be insensitive like this. To move people out, to just bring in caterpillar and mopo. You just move in, nobody is able to challenge you. If anybody challenges you, you say they are obstructing the government. But the same government is breaching the right of the individual by not saying this is your compensation. This is your relocation to a place. When somebody bought from you, you are moving them out by force. Do they move on the road? Do they move under the bridge? Or is it a matter of saying, go back to your village?
Contrary to the claims of the residents, the Lagos State government says that ample notice was given. Instead of 7 days after the notice, the residents were given 3 months.
What happened was that before we do any removal or before we do any reconstruction of any road in an area, there's something we call stakeholders meeting. We call all the residents that is going to be affected by the new improvements. So it's an improvement. We call it stakeholder. So we do the stakeholder with the people. We call all the political leaders, all the market women, all the KBAZs, the chiefs, the transport association, you name it, that lives in the area. We will select a convenient place for them. Everybody will be there. We will show them the picture, the pictorial view of what is coming to the area. And we ask them a question. Are you ready for this type of projects? Or you want us to remain where we are? You know, Lagos is so big. If we are to be constructing roads every day, this present administration, Akin Muyambode, is spending 8 years. He can't finish all the roads in Lagos State. But whatever he can do in this first term, if he does well, if you don't like, if you don't want development, it is you people that will say it. But I believe everybody loves good things. So we will now